All right. Ooh, Dead Source games.
The Source engine has always been somewhat of a safe place for
I love me Source.
The Source engine has always been somewhat of a safe place for me, at least when I look back at it through my rose-tinted glasses. No other engine really gives me the same sense of nostalgia that the Source engine does, but sadly, it's a dying engine, especially now with all the modern engines and even Source 2. But don't get me wrong, this engine can still do a lot. Tons of different styles of games, all on the same engine somehow. And all this stemming from just how easy it was to mod some game from 2004. But given it's been 20 years since the creation of this engine, a lot of these games and mods are basically dead and slowly being forgotten. These games have a ton of history as well, especially the last game I'm going to talk about. These games also once had thriving communities, like Fistful of Frags. If you enjoyed those free Source engine games on Steam as much as anyone else back in the day, you've definitely messed around on this classic Source shoot-'em-up cowboy game. And even if you didn't play it, you probably also saw it being played on YouTube. I know I did. I remember this game being a blast back in its prime. At one point having over 3,000 concurrent players.
Wow, that's a lot of dudes!
Which is a far cry from its current numbers. But even these numbers definitely still aren't bad. It's the most alive dead game in this video. Regardless, I think it deserves some type
barely
of
alive.
I won't stick on it too long as many other YouTubers have touted their love for this game, but it's love for a reason. The main reason has to be its simple yet addictive gameplay. On the surface, it may just look like a simple shooter game, but its mechanics are actually pretty in-depth. For starters, the shooting is atrocious, but in a good way. Imagine the accuracy mechanics from Counter-Strike, but somehow less forgiving.
Oh my
This
god!
makes gunfights
Oh my
more about
god! What are you
creativity
doing?
than just shooting, like ducking behind cover, kicking props at people to make them drop their weapons, repositioning out of tight spots, or even drinking moonshine to heal mid-fight. I didn't play much of Fistful of Frags back when it was at its peak,
just like
maybe
a
around
cowboy
4 hours
western.
just messing around with friends. But this time, I had some help from the Fistful of Frags pro, Ratlobber. I didn't do
Ratlobber? I love that guy!
And just like I remember, it's pretty hard to get into. My first game back, I got 6 kills and probably a million deaths, but eventually I managed to pull off 28 kills in a game. That's still nothing compared to the Fistful of Frags veterans who are still playing. But like I said, 28 kills in a game. That's still nothing compared to the Fistful
Corone PFP.
Full Frags veterans who are still playing. But like I said, once you learn the ins and outs, things start to get easier and a lot more fun. Every match you play ends up feeling different from the one before it and from any other match too. And honestly, it's probably the reason there's still so many people playing it. The art style is also pretty neat. It gives off those goofy TF2 vibes, which honestly on the Source engine feels like games either have that look or go in the complete opposite direction. The maps also look
You're either go full goofy or go full realism.
Beautiful Source engine look. Also, despite this game coming out in 2007 and there only being one developer named Rebel Yell, it still receives updates from time to time. And even the graphics and visuals have been getting updated throughout the years. I kind of like the older aesthetics, but the updates were necessary to keep it feeling fresh, I guess. But even as recently as 2022, there was a major update adding horses and also a competitive game mode. I really wonder what those high elo lobbies look like. But other than that, there hasn't been a ton of stuff added recently. But I'm sure that one developer is cooking something up. I'm not sure if the players still playing this game are Stockholm
Fistful of Frags Source 2?
Still chasing the high of popping off on this 17-year-old game. But it will remain a legend in the Source game history, unlike this next game I'm going to talk about, Hunt Down the Freeman. If you were on the internet in 2018, there's a good chance you heard all the hate surrounding this game. To be honest, how bad this game was is what made it relevant. This game first started as a Half-Life 2 mod back in 2016 by the indie game studio Royal Rudius Entertainment. It soon found itself pursuing some more ambitious routes, like hiring a bunch of YouTubers to voice act in their game.
God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Yes, that's fucking Keemstar. Regardless, the launch of the game was horrible to say the least. And like I said, it had a ton of drama surrounding it. If you were a normal person, you hopefully took everyone's word for it and never bought this game back then. That's what I did. But after all these years, I wanted to give it a good try and try to beat it, since there definitely won't be anyone trying to do that anytime soon. And yes, I did pay $10 for it, which I do regret. And even after all these years,
God bless you for your service.
About this game, it was somehow
random
worse
YouTuber
than I
I
expected.
found.
I don't know about you, but going into this game, I didn't really know the story, like at all, other than the fact that it was basically a Half-Life fanfiction. And it's for a good reason no one really went into detail about the story, as it's essentially a giant waste of time. The main character, Mitchell Shepard, Adrian Shepard's brother from opposing forces,
John Freeman, who was Gordon Freeman's brother,
finds himself in Black Mesa, fighting with the Marines to kill Gordon Freeman. This of course doesn't end well for him, having him get his ass whooped by the man Gordon Freeman himself. That's why his face is all fucked up. Mitchell should have died, but surprised by making a deal with the G-Man. He'll kill the Freeman when the time comes. Throughout the game, you fight through the 7-hour war, going through 20 years worth
why
of time
would he,
skips,
though?
yada yada yada. Time to hunt down the Freeman. Make your way right behind him, just for G-Man to tell you that a buddy you've been running along with for the last 20 years, Adam, was actually Gordon Freeman from the beginning spinning in an
Haha,
HTV
fuck
suit
you.
this entire fucking time. Probably the worst plot twist I've seen in all of media. You don't even get to fight
Gerbil?
Gordon at all. At least you get to put down Adam saying the iconic lines.
You fucked up my face.
The end. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oscar. 2 Oscars. Emmy. Everything. Give that man everything. Give that man the $700,000 or whatever it was.
That's the story of this game. I wasted about 5 hours of my life for that. The story may have
Beautiful.
been bad, but the gameplay was somehow even worse, with the worst level design I've seen in my entire life. If you think you're going the right way, you're not. It feels like most of this game is spent trying to find the right way, just aimlessly wandering around. The weird thing to me is that the maps are so inconsistent when it comes to quality. There's some maps that don't play too bad, and others that look like a little kid made it for their first map on the Hammer editor. Some maps got
Billy's
lots of
first
code, did look
Gmod
pretty
map.
It turns out that some of the maps they used were just repurposed Gmod workshop maps, which is probably
Wow.
why they feel this way. The whole game itself feels like you just downloaded a bunch
Perfect.
of Gmod mods and tried to make your own custom story, which isn't too far from how it ended up. At least
I
the cutscenes
mean-
don't look too bad, but they have updated those as well. The ideas a lot of these levels had aren't bad in theory, but they just didn't do it right. Like, there is nothing fun about driving around and shooting at things. The only thing that made that fun in Half-Life 2 was being able to get out and explore the world, which doesn't look like there's much to find out here. I don't know how to explain this
Turret
game other than
section
it
in
just seems
current
like it was made by
year.
an alien. Typical game design laws are just
A
completely thrown
Glorpo.
out the window. Like, I can't shoot this explosive barrel next to these zombies or it'll kill me. I particularly liked how they gave you this cool motorcycle just for you to get it stuck in this one spot, so you'd have to climb out, walk up this road just to find another motorcycle in a garage. Every horrible part of this game
Beautiful.
has been expressed enough already by
Amazing.
hundreds of people,
Genius.
but I'll probably be the first to say it does have some charm to it. I didn't hate my
Really?
entire playthrough. The game has gone through a few updates and improvements though, especially compared to the launch. They even re-recorded Pyrocynical's iconic lines.
The aliens are coming. We've been compromised. Oh, God, we're so fucked.
Bits of the story
Oh my god. Funny fat guy. Bald fat
were also kind of interesting along the way. At one point going to New Alaska, aka City 9, where you find a bunch of children making the cremators from the Half-Life 2 beta. Honestly, I'd say
Whoa.
I enjoyed this game a bit more than I should have, but to be fair, Impulse 101 and God Mode were my best friends. It's one of those games that's so bad, it's kinda good. And it was actually a lot
Are
of
you
fun
sure
making this
about
segment
that?
of the video. If this
I don't
game
know,
was
I'll
free,
probably
I'd
find
say
out.
give it a try. And I'm kinda surprised it isn't free since the creators know people are just gonna buy it and refund it anyway. The next game is
Refund.
one I had
That's
personally
funny.
never heard about, which I
Wait,
think
what
is
the
what made
heck?
it so interesting to me. There's a lot of
Brody
Source Engine
Quest?
games that not only are dead, but they were never really alive to begin with. Sorry if that offends the 7 fans of this game, Blade Symphony.
Damn.
It was made back in 2014 by the studio Puny Human, and was a pretty ambitious sword fighting
Puny
game, at least in a time before
Humans.
games like For Honor. Puny Human is no stranger to successful Source Engine games though. They created
Oh?
Dystopia in 2004, which is an iconic
Who?
Half-Life 2 mod that was up there with the Hidden Source back in the day. I'd even say it was more
Oh.
popular than the Hidden, considering it won at GDC 2006.
The winner,
Oh.
the Half-Life 2 Modern War goes to Dystopia.
I'm assuming the team wanted to cook up another good Source game, on of course
Cool.
a newer and improved version of the SDK. Blade Symphony is a simple yet fun sword fighting game, with combos you can chain together, different stances you can
Whoa,
use, and
that's
some parts
sick.
mechanics. Like I said, I
That's
hadn't heard about
sick.
this game until recently.
This is like
but there was a pretty loyal
guns.
fan base once the game started. But given its pretty simple and bare bones nature, the player base slowly dwindled. That was until
Needed a
they made
battle
the game
pass.
free-to-play in 2017, and also added some pretty unnecessary changes, which was the final nail in its coffin. The game got review bombed by those few fans that were loyal up
Ugh.
until that point, and they all abandoned it. It now sits there on Steam rotting away, empty servers and all. But was this game
Aw.
actually good? I decided to give it a try myself, and honestly, it's alright. There's a lot of cool
It's
aspects about
okay.
it, but you can definitely tell this game tried its hardest to not seem like a Source game. Even changing the console button to F10. Come on. Why you-
Wow.
The only things that felt like
What?
Source here was the voice chat and the classic spray button. The art style itself is really strange too. It
Fop.
feels like it's not really sure on what it wants to look like. The 5 characters in the game don't even look like they belong in the same game. Perhaps that's the look they were going for though. I really wish they looked as
I
cool as
guess.
the portraits did. Anyways, there are 3 game modes in this game. Duel is what you think it is, but it's actually pretty cool how it works. I'm assuming if you were on an actual alive server, you'd be able to do your duels in an open lobby, with other people doing their own duels at the same time. You have 3 different
Wow.
sections of the map.
I wonder
to
if you
duels
can
in,
third
being able
party
to
in
queue up
that-
for the
in-
next
in
games
that
or
then.
spectate whichever match you want. The actual gameplay itself was man,
It's alright.
I don't know if I liked it or hated it. The idea of multiple stances having different combos, different characters, different swords, it was cool and all,
Ooh,
but the actual
neat.
sword fights just didn't feel responsive. Half the game just felt like butt mashing and somehow someone would win.
What
What is happening? Like, actually, I'm just pressing left click. I'm not doing like anything.
Just mash left. He's just mashing left click.
It feels about as bad as it looks. I did eventually get the hang of it though. Parries, dodging and rolling, overpowering the quicker stances with the heavier one, but it just never felt satisfying. It kind of surprises me that this is a finished game, especially with how bad the animations are. There's also a weird control point game mode. I'm kind of surprised they thought people would actually be playing this mode, running around capturing other points and fighting with the atrocious movement in this game. It would probably be
Wow.
cool if you had a lot of people, but it of course just doesn't work as well as they thought it would.
Just
And
play
let me get back
just
to the
play
movement for a second. There's a roll,
TF2.
dodge, and climbing you can do. Even
Whoa.
wall runs. The wall scrambling was pretty cool on the parkour maps, but it does feel strange with how the game is like sun gravity. It does look kind of funny when someone falls though. The movement in this game is nothing like a typical Source game.
I
other than
love
the
Source.
default Source running animation. The game also had some amazing songs in the background.
Ooh, hot jams. These are some hot jams. These jams are hot.
Overall, a very interesting Source game that I didn't hate, but didn't love either. I kind of understand why it's dead. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but just being honest. But one game I'm pretty sad that is
R.I.P.
dead
again.
is Pirates, Vikings, and Knights 2. This game
Ooh,
is
I
exactly
remember
what you think
this.
it is. Pirates, Vikings, and Knights all killing each other. This can be on
A
3 game
classic.
modes. Last Team Standing particularly being my favorite. Because if everyone
Is this
takes turns on
Chivalry?
killing each other, each map has its
Wait,
own
this is
unique
basically
sudden death,
Chivalry.
like lava rising, lightning outside, or a whole cathedral collapsing around you. That's
Nice.
as cool as it sounds. Sadly, there's only like 4 of those maps though. Each team has a bunch of
Darn.
different classes, 11 in total. Although they actually added a new character back in 2020. And there's apparently a
Wow.
lot of other classes that plan to get released. But I'm not really sure they're gonna get
Yeah,
added,
not
considering it took them
happening.
like a decade to add one. The cut characters seem pretty interesting. If you want a sense of just how old this game is, it was built on the same Source SDK that the Orange Box was built on. And it's of course
Whoa.
a sequel to the original mod that was for the original Half-Life. Yet, this game still feels great in my opinion. A lot of those older Source mods or games just don't hold up too well. This is a Source game that ain't afraid to be a Source game, and I respect it. The game also looks beautiful. Tortuga gotta be the
Nice.
most beautiful map.
A good old Tortuga.
Beautiful. If you can tell, I have some pretty fond memories of this game. It kind of has the same feeling that Fistful of Frags has. Just a game you can play for a long time messing around.
No!
Although this time I played it, I just couldn't host a private server, no matter what I tried. Maybe they broke it with some recent updates, but I remember it actually working.
Aw,
So we had to
darn.
rely on the server browser to play it, which isn't bad because the game is dead, so no one would join, right? That's when we were rudely interrupted by Frank 2020 Klein, who I'm convinced is actually 4 years old. In fact, I think the only people playing this game now are literal children, who just made a Steam account and want a free game. I mean, it is a game with Pirates, Vikings, and Knights. Most free Source Engine games are occupied by
Classic.
these brainless little players, but
Oh, who can blame them? Pirates, Knights, and Vikings. Those are classic. I think they're literally they are three. They are part of the 4x4 of you just turned 6 now to make I'm stumbling. It's on the 4x4 where it's at least 3. I'm sorry. 3 of the 4x4 of you just turned 6. Now pick Okay, one more time. I'm sorry. You gotta pick 4. Okay, one more. That didn't count. You just turned 6. Now, pick one from this 4x4, and Pirates, Vikings, and Knights are on there. So, makes sense.
I'm surprised I didn't find any real veterans still playing on the servers. I'm sure they hop on from time to time, but damn, this game has really run its course. Maybe there's just
Dang.
nothing super distinct about this game that would help it live as a Source
Maybe
Engine
Pirates,
classic. It does
Vikings,
have
and
that
Knights
goofy TF2 vibe
3
going
should
for
be
it
a
that I was
thing.
talking about earlier. A very distinct art style, but they definitely had to live up to the first game's iconic look. Going back and playing this game was pretty damn fun, but I'm sad I couldn't host my own game because it was always fun to throw a bunch of bots into the game, but it also just didn't hit the same.
Rats.
Maybe it's because someone was playing the OP-ass Berserker character and shitting on all of us.
Oh no!
Why are you
Oh
Just
my
the fact
god.
that they're still doing a bunch of balancing changes, so it definitely isn't the same game
Wow.
I remember, which is fine. But like with an older game that has very obviously run its course, why not preserve it in that way? It may just be a bad take, but these major updates that come so long after the release just seem kind of pointless. It just seems like they're trying to keep the game a bit relevant, which is futile for a game this old. I still respect the devs, of course, and know that it's just a passion project that they put a lot of work into, but I digress. It's still a fun game to
Yeah.
play, and I'd definitely recommend
All
fucking
that
around
passion
with some
gone
pals.
down the
Now the next game,
tubes.
I made sure to save the best for last.
First,
Ooh.
if you made it this far, pretty please subscribe.
A source game that I'm actually
Sure.
quite happy is
Wait.
has
Wait. Did that actually glow when it clicked the subscribe button?
It's still a fun game to play, and I'd definitely recommend fucking around on it.
Wait,
with some
did he
pals.
actually-
Now the next game, I made sure to save the best for last.
First, if you made it this far, pretty please subscribe.
A source game.
Oh my god. It actually glows. That's pretty cool. Sure. I like the video. I like the video.
Game that I'm
Let's
actually
finish it up.
quite happy is dead has to be Postal 3. This
Oh,
game offended me
no.
with just how horrible
Dead
it was.
baby
I
good-
was somewhat of a
dead
fan
baby
of Postal 2 back
jokes.
in the day. Who wasn't? Running around blowing people's heads up and just being a menace. It's an iconic game, and one that should have just been left
Iconic.
alone. But the Running with Scissors studio thought, hey, why don't we make a third game that's third person, linear, and on the Source engine? It wasn't even the fact that this game was on the Source engine that made it bad, but it definitely did make it better. The story and writing for this game was somehow less enjoyable than Hunt Down the Freeman. Hell, Hunt Down the Freeman didn't make me feel like I completely wasted my $10. But this game, I refunded that shit. The game was horrible,
Aw.
but the Source engine did a decent job of getting those NPC interactions from the second game. But that's about the only thing the Source engine did right. for this game.
Ugh.
Wow, that was a really cheap shot. Hope you learned a lot about the fucking health system, Skippy. Fuck this shit!
Wait, what the?
You see, Postal 2 was fun because it was an open world. You could go wherever you want. But Postal 3 was completely
Beautiful.
linear. Each level would change for each mission. A real on-the-rails approach, especially compared to Postal 2. Once you beat the game, you are able to roam around the world though. There just isn't anything to do. The cops don't even chase you, they just randomly spawn around the map. And the world is basically empty
Wow.
other than brainless NPCs walking around. This game
I
just
mean,
felt
that's
so out of
basically
place
Los
for a Source
Angeles.
game, but you gotta
Har
respect
har.
them for trying, I guess. The world itself actually looks pretty good for the Source engine. No reused Half-Life 2 assets either. That would have been even more bizarre.
Damn.
Although to me, it would really
It would've
look
been
like Left 4 Dead at times,
amusing.
which I thought may have just been a coincidence. But the development was actually handled by the Russian development team,
What
Akela, who was in charge of making the Russian port of Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. So Akela got the
Oh.
rights to the Source engine and specifically the Left 4 Dead builds. The company went bankrupt shortly
Oh.
after Postal 3 though, just because
Rip.
of how much of a commercial failure it
Rest
was.
in
The game was
paisanos.
supposed to be better than this, starting development all the way back in 2007. But
Jesus.
2008 was the Great Recession. This really hit Russia hard and forced Akela to fire the original Postal 3 team. A new team was later put in charge to work on it in
no.
2009, but due to the time loss, they
Oh,
scrapped a
no.
bunch of ideas like multiplayer and the whole open world element. Eventually, that same year, the second team of devs
no.
was also fired, which was then picked up by a third team all the way in
I
2010,
love
where they were
failure
forced to release the game for its
cascades.
November 2011 release. This is why the game is so bad. Like I said, Akela basically went bankrupt from this game. An old beta
God
version of Postal
damn.
3 was actually leaked not too long ago, with it looking much more like Half-Life 2 and even having the health and ammo in the typical Source engine spots. But an even older alpha of the game leaked, the 2007
Whoa.
version, which was at least 4 years before the game got released. It was leaked in June of 2020, with the game's whole design documents and concept art, even containing early builds
Wow.
of TF2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. In my opinion, this version looked like it actually had something going for it. Sad to know that this game never really lived up to its potential. I kinda went
Damn.
down a bit of a rabbit hole, but apparently that
Bunny.
leaked TF2
I like
version
that
had
bunny.
a lot of cut content. I'm assuming these must have came with the source build that Valve provided to Akela. Sadly, the TF2 build didn't actually launch, but the things I found interesting are a cut sound for the teleporter,
Whoa!
basically all the cut weapons,
Crazy.
including all the throwables, skyboxes, balancing changes like Soldier used to have 36 rockets instead of the 20 now, a cut scout defeat animation called run_war crimes, and even tutorial cinematics for the game modes. I did not expect this postal section to turn into TF2 cut content, but here we are.
Wow.
Half-Life 2 leak also had some pretty interesting
Thank you
stuff
for
in
the
it as
lost
well,
media.
like some cut rebel voice lines that were voiced by Earl Alexander, the voice actor of Lewis from Left 4 Dead.
Freeman, you have anything to take down that chopper? Gordon, try throwing those mines back at the chopper.
His voice was for some reason
Whoa,
never used at all in
awesome.
the release of episode 2. I'll put all my sources in the description, and I kind of recommend checking this one out if you're interested. But I think that's a good place to end this video. If y'all still enjoy this, I'll even make
Beautiful.
a third one. God knows there is not a shortage of dead Source Engine games to talk about. Also, if you've been wondering where I've been for so long, I've been a bit busy taking care of this thing. Me.
Oh, now this thing I like this thing. It's a very cute thing. I want to pet it. I want to cuddle it.
She is a cute Lynx Point Siamese that I recently adopted, and you probably saw her hopping around in this video. This is the first time I've shown her on this channel, but it will definitely not be the last time. Maybe I'll give you guys an update on her at the end of each video. Right now, she's just a stinky little kitten that is also kind of stupid. Also, I really want to thank you all.
She has a single brain cell.
She's just a stinky
Look at
little
her.
kitten that is also kind of stupid. Also,
This thing. Look at this thing. It has a single brain cell. There is not a single thought in those little eyes. I like that. I love that. I love that. Do I got time for one more? I think I got time for one more. You know what? Yeah, little bonus. Little bonus. Yeah, I know we're going to be working backwards, but nah, and you know what? No. I think I watched this before.